Love is bigger than anything in its way. Love is bigger than anything in its way. The door is open to go through. If I could, I would come too. But the path belongs to you. As you're walking, start singing and stop talking. If I could hear myself when I say, oh, love is bigger than anything in its way. So young to be the words of your own song. I know the rage in you is strong. Write a world where we can belong to each other and sing it like no other. If I could hear myself when I say, love is bigger than anything in its way. If you listen, you just become.
Sorry, I'm muted. So good afternoon. That's what happens when you do a live. But thank you so much for joining us today. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Lindy Zeladon. I am the community agent for New Brunswick Public Schools, and I'm also the this year's chair for the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition. Um, and I'd like to introduce my co-host today, which is Mr. Claudio Mier. Claudio.
Hola, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Claudio Mir, and I am a senior program coordinator at the Collaborative Center for Community-Based Learning and Service at Rutgers, and I also have been in New Brunswick for a long time doing work, community-based art work, and social work. And I'm glad to be here today.
Awesome, thank you. So I wanted to give you a little. I want to revisit and actually thank our collaborators here today. So let's look at the first video that everyone witnessed today. That is from a wonderful artist by the name of Byrie the Siren. And that video was actually the first video that played. The name of the piece that she did was called "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way." And I thought it was so important to have that. Let's just shout out to Brian Chen, who actually created that whole video with Byrie in the vocals. So it was amazing. She has an angelic voice, and I love, love, love her contribution. Now, when we think about love is bigger than anything in its way, we want to remember and actually hone in on the fact that it's healthy love, it's self-love, it's healthy relationships. That's the kind of love that is bigger than anything in its way. So I love that that contribution by Byrie the Siren. Thank you so much. And you know, the second video that was played, what did you think? First of all, Claudia, what did you think about Byrie's piece?
Amazing video. The images were so clear. That shot of the drone from above, and all the people who came to paint Ken Armwood, indeed, people that we know that have been around New Brunswick for a long time. It was really inspiring. I felt, and I feel still, the same energy that we have when we go around New Brunswick marching and playing drums. I felt it when I saw the video. It gave me hope. The art piece is so beautiful, and to be able to see it from above was great. Great start.
You know, and what's crazy is that that day for the Clothesline Project, you know, we had these T-shirts that were created by allies and survivors, and it was amazing because the conversations that took place on that mural, on that street mural, by wonderful muralist and artist Samaria. She did an amazing job with that mural, and she even incorporated orquídea, which an orchid, on that mural, which was so important for us to talk about,
right,
you know, soon. But so the type of conversations that took place on that mural were so raw, so vulnerable. We attracted so many people from all walks of life. And sharing their super personal stories. So it was really an opportunity for everyone to just feel comfortable in that space.
And that's what art does, right? For us, because we can go on living our lives, and life is not essential, but it's necessary for us to have a good life. And that's what Tracy and Sarah do so well in the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center. So we're definitely thankful for their work and their hosting. Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So the New Brunswick Cultural Center is amazing. The Arts Institute of Middlesex County, we cannot you know, not give them their credit, because Lindsay Urban has been there since its inception, and we're forever indebted to those creatives for bringing this show today. And Sarah Ferreira, our producer in the background, she's doing an amazing job. Thank you so much, Sarah. But I actually want to give you a little bit of a background on the coalition before we dive right in. So, you know, the coalition was founded in 2002, and I know that you're going to give us a little more in-depth detail about why it was founded, but it was shortly after the community activist by the name of Orquídea lost her life to domestic violence. And unfortunately, she lost her life to the very cause that she was actually trying to bring awareness to: domestic abuse. So, you know, the first march and rally took place in 2003, and every year thereafter, just as you saw in that Daily Targum video. Thank you so much, Daily Targum, for showcasing, that awesome energy from the marches. And hopefully we'll be back on the grounds soon. but we do this rally every October, and it's such a wonderful feeling to be around such community members and community leaders that are willing to walk with us. Mariam is very famous on that megaphone that day, and you and your drums and your troop of drummers. So the mass. I mean, can you tell us a little more about the march?
Right. Orquídea was a community volunteer who was working in a health fair that was being done in New Brunswick in a church, and a couple of days, or maybe the next day, she was killed by her husband. And Mariam always said that we could just sit down and cry, or we could do something about it, and that's where the march, and I think also the coalition was born. And that and then we did a march the way we know how to do it. I made giant puppets, and that we played drums down the street, we chanted, and that brings people out. And something I was telling you before is that I noticed a couple of years ago, after doing it for so many years, that volunteers go to whomever comes outside, they give them information about domestic violence, and we have been able to actually have people who receive that literature and those phone numbers to actually call and look for help. So it's not only an event in memory of, or just to create conscience and awareness about that, but it's also of service to people that are going through difficult times in their homes.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. So the theme for this year is fighting for social justice and elevating community voices. 2020 has been such a year of awakenings, so we're definitely riding in that spirit. Can you talk a little more about that, Claudio?
Right. I forgot to say that another aspect of the march, which the Targum shows so beautiful, is the brides that are marching, that are dressed as brides, but they as if they were bitten on their faces, and that's in honor of a woman who was also killed the day of her wedding by an ex-boyfriend. A jealous ex-boyfriend, and that's also a national thing that women march dressed as bride. It doesn't matter the age, right? Because domestic violence has no age or economic background, or it doesn't matter if you're a professional or not. Anybody can be a victim to domestic violence. So the this year theme, it has a lot to do with social awareness, the effervescence that we are living in the country right now, because society is like it's like a fish tank. If a fish gets sick, all the other fish will get sick. So if something is not working for you, if somebody's oppressed, if somebody is suffering, then we all suffer. There's no security for anybody, and that's in the march and the activity of domestic violence. It falls into that, right? Like, so the same rights that we're asking for blacks, for brown, for LGBT are the same rights that we're asking for women, and creating a spaces also for women to become the best that they can become. And of course, I'm a man, and I can just shut up and say nothing, but I'm an ally, right? I definitely feel for this issue, because I come from a family where we had some domestic violence issues.
Thank you so much, Claudio. So I definitely want to shout out everyone that is on with us today. I want to shout out my boss who took some time to pop in. Thank you so much, Superintendent Aubrey Johnson, New Brunswick Public Schools. Thank you so much for logging in.
Thank you, Dr.
I love you. So can you, we can sit here and talk and back and forth all day, but I definitely want to get this wonderful show on the road. And I want you to introduce the founder of the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition. You're lucky to have her in your presence today. Am I correct?
That's right. And thank you to all the people who are tuning in. Dr. Johnson, thank you very much. And also, this is going to be amazing. We go on the streets of New Brunswick, we march, we have the brides, we have the masks, the puppets, we have performances, sometimes in corners, we sing. But I think this year is going to be amazing. Not only because we have all this content, but it also because the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center is hosting and has given a taste of art making and art to the whole thing. So you're in for a treat the rest of our activity. And it is my honor to introduce you to Miss Maria Merced. Some of you know her. She is the person who's been working in New Brunswick for many, many, many years, and is a person who doesn't know how to say no. So without further rambling on my part, here's Miss Maria Merced.
Buenas, good afternoon. I am so happy to be here. This is our 17th year of hosting this march, and this year is very important because we could have said, well, we can't do it, but we decided that we are not that kind of people. We need to continue to bring this information out to the public. We need to continue to do awareness and education in our community. In 2003, when we lost Orquídea, and you guys heard the story, we decided that we weren't that kind of people. We needed to do something. This was a person that was well known in our community. This is a person that had her life in front of her, and we have continued to elevate her name and her purpose in life and in her family life through the work of this coalition. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of background, because the Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for the last, since 2003, have continued tirelessly to bring information and education in a culturally sensitive way in our community. We use our cultural traditions like a quinceañero and a sweet 16 to bring information to young people about healthy and unhealthy relationships. We have worked with our health providers and our community-based organizations for them to better identify and also refer women for services. We work with an initiative called the No Mas Initiative, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing some of the videos that we created with our famous ladies from the community, where we work with our women to understand the importance of women helping women, which is one of the best characteristics that women have. And how can we, when there is a domestic violence situation, we still can intervene, we still can help. So we want to make sure that we continue on this journey. We have new things coming up. The coalition is going to be supporting some new work that the Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital is going to be doing with a hospital-based violence intervention program, where the coalition is going to be key, because it's going to be serving many patients that are victims of violence that come through our trauma department. So there's, many things coming. I always refer to this coalition as that story of the little train that could, that just kept, the little engine that could. So I just want to say that I'm happy to be here. I just came back from Puerto Rico, and I just want to leave you with this message before I introduce somebody very important to our city. But I was down in Puerto Rico, and they have a new initiative there around domestic violence and abuse to women. And their main message is that if you hurt one of us, you hurt us all. So it's not only that you hurt a women and that all the women are going to, be rioting outside. You hurt us. You hurt society when you hurt women. When you mistreat little girls, when you don't give little girls opportunity, you hurt us all. So this is a message that we want to bring to you today, that we need to have opportunities for all, for our women, for our young men. And we want to make sure that this coalition can continue to do this effort every year. I'm sure next year I'm going to have my megaphone. We're going to be out in the street chanting. And I also want to say in Spanish que Me alegro que pudimos estar hoy con ustedes. No pudimos hacer la marcha en vivo, la tuvimos que hacer así de esta manera virtual, pero es importante que sigamos dando esta información sobre la importancia de la prevención de la violencia doméstica. Somos una coalición que ha trabajado por muchos años para llevar la información de la violencia doméstica y el abuso sexual a nuestra comunidad. And now I want to introduce somebody that has been a supporter of the work of the Domestic Violence Coalition for many years, and also a supporter of the victims and their families in this city. We have a video of our Major James Cahill. Gracias.
Thank you and welcome everyone to the 2020 New Brunswick Domestic Violence March and Rally. New Brunswick is a modern and growing city with a diverse community, economic growth, excellent arts and culture, and powerhouses of education, health, and wellness. Yet despite our progress, like communities everywhere, we still have families living in fear in their own homes because of domestic violence. We gather today to affirm our dedication to the goal of ending that fear. Our focus has not wavered because everyone deserves a safe and secure place to be able to thrive and live without mental or physical abuse. And all children deserve a safe place to grow and play without fear of violence in their homes. In New Brunswick, we're doing our very best to give these families what they deserve. Groups like the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition, Women Aware, and Town Clock CDC, and so many others work to ensure that families affected by domestic violence have access to safe shelter, support services, and healthcare to aid them in their healing. We are fortunate and grateful for their service and advocacy. Today's virtual march and the vital work of the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition educates, raises awareness, and helps to prevent domestic violence in our community. But there is more to be done, and we need the help of people like you who have chosen to take a stand and act as an advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves. I thank you for your compassion and attention to this issue, and I look forward to our continued work together to end domestic violence in our community. Thank you for your support.
You know, okay, I'm back. Sorry. So thank you so much, Mayor Cahill, for your insightful words and for, reiterating the fact that we have zero tolerance for domestic violence in this city and in this state. We're so grateful to have such a level of support on your behalf and from our community organizations and on our government. So thank you everyone who shouted me out for the mute button. But I do want to give a shout out to the people that have joined us today. New Jersey Youth Corps of Middlesex County, Ushindi Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for logging on, Freeholder Ascona Barber, for your positive messages. We'll see a little bit more of her in a few. Seneda, thank you for joining us today. Everyone who's joining us, thank you so much. But with that said, we're so happy to introduce this next presenter. On behalf of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, please welcome Deputy Director Kenneth Armwood.
Hi, I'm Ken Armwood, Deputy Director of the Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders. Today I'm in front of the beautiful Brunswick Performing Arts Center, but I'm not here to talk about art today. In Middlesex County, we want to send a clear message that domestic violence will not be tolerated, and that as a society, we will combat it and support the victims of domestic violence. I support any legislation on the local level, state level, or federal level that supports victims of domestic violence. It's important that we continue to provide assistance to them. Here in Middlesex County, for example, we have the Center for Empowerment. We also have groups like Women Aware who support the victims. We need to send a clear message. While we do not support domestic violence, we do support the victims of domestic violence. We also must start supporting our young people and educating them at an early age that love is not violent and love does not hurt. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Deputy Director Armwood. We definitely appreciate your support. Next up, we actually have a special clip from the 2017 No Mas, No More domestic violence campaign. So throughout today's event, we're actually going to be sprinkling some other No Mas videos as well. So let me just give you a little background about the grant that was given by the to Robert Wood Johnson by the Avon Foundation for Women. So the No Mas, No More videos were created to engage and promote awareness in the Latino community about domestic violence. And, you know, community actors were recruited to play different roles of actual domestic violence situations and experiences by survivors and allies, specifically for individuals to reflect on the complexity of abuse with the added layers of the Latino experience. You know, but we have to remind ourselves that domestic violence, as we stated earlier, excludes no race, no culture, gender, sexual orientation, class, or age. We can all be susceptible to domestic violence or abuse. So we're here today to offer resources in which you can help yourself or others who find themselves in similar situations. First, know that you're not alone. And most importantly, that we're all in this together. Claudio, can you tell us a little more about the No Mas, No More campaign?
Right. The idea was part of actually of that grant, a media campaign for I think television, because the No More videos in English have a lot of artists on television, but we wanted to have a different angle, which was community people, community residents, actually looking like community residents, talking about domestic violence and different situations of domestic violence. Of course, we counted with the assistance of the great Elaine Hewings, who has a lot of experience with domestic violence, and we wrote short pieces, like a 1-minute piece with a lot of information at the end of the video. So I think they're very effective. When we counted with Paul Brasil, who was like an amazing videographer. So they're really well done. I think you're gonna enjoy them. You know what?
Awesome. So just want to give a quick shout out to Sierra Warner, who's logged in and said some well wishes for our platform here today. So thank you so much, CC Warner. So now we're actually going to take a dive into the No Mas video. It is in Spanish, but we're actually going to welcome Elaine Hewins, who is our NBDVAC administrator. And she's also the community intervention manager for Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital's Hospital Intervention Program. It's a new program. Mariam spoke a little bit about it earlier. And, good things are coming through on the horizon to help people that are, that find themselves in these types of situations with violence. But so Elaine Hewins is actually going to break down some significant points about the video in English. So without further ado, Elaine Hewins. And actually, I'm interviewing her. Sorry. Go ahead.
Cuando llegué a este país, conocí a este hombre americano que me ofreció el cielo y las estrellas, que podía estudiar, ser ciudadana, tener un hogar. Al principio todo era muy lindo. Teníamos un apartamento espacioso y bonito. Tomábamos vacaciones y salíamos a bailar casi todos los viernes. Luego tuvimos hijos y con los hijos vinieron las presiones de la vida y las cosas comenzaron a cambiar. Nunca me dejó estudiar. Me sentía como una sirvienta. No podía salir sola, tener amigas, ir a la iglesia. No podía ayudar a mi familia. Luego comenzaron los golpes y las amenazas. Te voy a llamar a inmigración. Te voy a quitar a tus hijos. Te voy a hacer daño a tu familia.
Nosotros decimos no más violencia. La violencia doméstica le puede pasar a cualquiera. Si le preocupa su relación o desea información sobre violencia doméstica, llame al 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233 o visite estos sitios en la web.
Wow. So Elaine, first and foremost, I want to thank you for joining us today and walking us through what we just finished watching. So please.
Thank you, Lindy. It's my pleasure. And, that was so powerful. It's such a common experience what the character went through in that video of so many survivors, especially Latina immigrants. I like to start off by talking about just how common it is. So we know that dating violence, domestic violence, sexual violence are extremely common public health and social problems that affect the lives of millions of women each year. And although, it's an equal opportunity problem, right? So people of all races, ethnicities, religions, socioeconomic statuses, genders, they all experience abuse, but they may have unique experiences. And for Latina immigrants, the experience of speaking a different language, certain cultural barriers may come into play. Latinas may also experience additional barriers in accessing resources due to cultural beliefs about the private nature of violence in the home and the importance of not talking about it or not prying into other people's private business, as well as about the risk of deportation or greater violence toward themselves or their families or their children being taken away.
Yeah, well, Elaine, that really sheds light on another facet of abuse. As an outsider, your loved ones say, you should leave him or leave him now. And you have all these other factors to consider. I mean, what do you do then, Elaine?
A very common dynamic in abusive relationships is a whirlwind romance. And the character in the video seems to have had this experience. What we mean by that is that whirlwind romance. They meet, they're in love, they're a monogamous couple, they're moving in together. Before you know it, someone's pregnant, or they're getting the honeymoon phase where they're getting married. Whereas healthy relationships tend to develop more gradually, more slowly. And we can see that she became trapped in the abuse. So I'm going to address your question of when people want to help, but they say you need to leave. So we'll get to that. But just to look a little bit more at what occurred in the video. So, you know, we notice that she describes meeting this guy. He promises her the moon and the stars. He tells her she can study and become a citizen. They'll have a wonderful life together and a wonderful home. And in the beginning, she describes that everything is beautiful. They go on vacations, dancing, and then before very long, she is pregnant. So at that point, he has cemented her in his life. And abuse is about the invisible bars of coercive control. So what do we mean by that? We mean that the things that trap a survivor are often not the things that are against the law. So if her credit, her financial credit is compromised, if she's pregnant, there's a baby, their lives become intertwined if he knows secrets about her family or that she is undocumented. These are the invisible bars, and that has a huge impact on what's happening here. And we know from the story that she has come to this country and he has promised that she can get a green card, so we can figure out that she's probably undocumented. And that shortly after she's pregnant, they have children, and her life changes. She's not permitted to study, and she feels like a maid, right? So of course our lives are going to change once we have children, but she's not just talking about those changes. She's talking about not feeling loved anymore. The whirlwind, the romance is over. She's more isolated and trapped, and she feels like a maid. And Lindy, isolation is the biggest marker of an abusive relationship. So she's describing that she's not permitted to go out by herself, to see her friends, to go to church, or to help her family. And abusers use that tactic of isolation to be able to control their target person. So her world is shrinking. It's harder to confide in others or get feedback on what's going on. Abuse typically does not happen in front of witnesses. It may happen in front of the children, but the more isolated she is, no one is seeing it, then the abuser can tell her, well, I didn't push you, you fell. Or, you know, you're so stupid, you always make a fool of yourself. And there's just no one to give her that feedback that, no, that's not true. She then describes that the physical abuse begins, and he threatens to call immigration on her. So he is using the tactics of physical abuse, intimidation, and threats, and control, and also financial abuse, which is extremely common. So at this point, having children, being fearful, being financially dependent, and having to dodge different forms of abuse every day, whether verbal, emotional, sexual, or physical abuse, her world has totally changed. We can imagine the emotional and physical effects on her. Lindy, what do you think are some of the effects on a person that goes through this experience?
I mean, where do I begin, Elaine? I mean, she's probably like traumatized. She's super lonely. Her self-esteem is probably shattered, which can lead to like other things. Like she's probably depressed, anxious. She can't be a great mom, you know, to her children if she's not whole herself. I can only imagine the multitude of ramifications of being in such a stressful situation.
Absolutely. You know, there could be a huge impact on survivors' emotional and physical health. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how we can be supportive. It's really important that we listen to them as a friend or family member and be non-judgmental. Rather than telling survivors what to do, we need to respect their autonomy as adults and help them find resources when they're ready. Leaving an abusive relationship is a process and not an event, right? So for some victims and survivors, there might be something that happens one night and they leave and there is a big event. But more often, it's a gradual process of identifying that this is happening in their lives. So we have to be patient and supportive. As we can see here in her story, she has a number of barriers to just leaving, even once she is emotionally ready. We have to think about how does she feel at the moment of speaking about her abuse. In her voice in the video, I could hear fear, sadness, embarrassment, and maybe even some shame. But abuse is never the fault of the survivor. The shame is for the abuser. And Lindy, other things to do, like I said, expressing concern, validating the experience by saying things like, I am concerned about your safety and well-being, but I understand how difficult it is to make the necessary changes. We can imagine for this survivor that she has identified the abuse, but none of us can change our lives in one day. But when we receive support and when we are supportive to that person, we can plant a therapeutic seed that begins to grow in the person when they realize that people do believe me. People do value me, and maybe this isn't my fault, and maybe I don't deserve what is happening.
I know I hear you loud and clear, Elaine, but it is in my nature to fix problems and help people. And this is what I do, this is what I've always done. But I've found that it often backfires. Like I want to fix the problem. I want to, I want to come in and save the day. But I've recently learned about toxic positivity, and I think that I suffer from that because I think I can fix it. So, can you suggest other approaches for people that find themselves in situations like me that can sit here and assume that you can save the day?
Absolutely. As caring human beings, we want to help and to try to fix the situation. There are some things we can fix, right? If you fall down and you need a Band-Aid for your knee, I can help you. Someone can change the tire on your car, fix that problem. Domestic violence or emotional abuse is not a problem we can fix for someone else. We need to provide support, options, and offer resources, and listen non-judgmentally. And an important reason not to tell them what to do is that we can inadvertently pick up where the abuser left off. The abuser is all about telling their target person what to do and controlling them, making them feel bad if they don't do it. But when we as caring people tell the survivor, you need to leave, if that person is not ready to do it, then they feel bad about themselves. They feel like yet again they disappointed someone, they're a loser, they can't do anything right, and then they might stop talking to us, because some people even go so far as to say, if you don't leave this time, don't call me again, right? And as hard as it is for the friends and family, we need to keep our own boundaries, but we want to keep that door open, because there's nothing an abuser likes better than a victim with no one to turn to, because they're all the more isolated. And obviously none of that is the intention of the caring person. I know you, and I know that is not your intention at all. You truly want people to reach their fulfillment in life and have the best life they can. So that's why it's so important. You're welcome. That's why it's so important to be patient and supportive, and to help the person find resources when they're ready. So again, things like, you're not alone, the violence is not your fault, only your abuser can stop their abusive behavior. I'm here to support you. You could call me anytime. I'll help you. And I can connect you to the domestic violence programs where there are advocates who are experts on things like safety planning. And those programs have hotlines, shelters, support groups, legal information. So it's critical to make those connections for your friend or family member. And Lindy, did you know that leaving an abusive relationship is the most dangerous time for a survivor? That more women are seriously injured or killed at the time of leaving than at any other time?
Honestly, I really didn't think about it like that, but come to think of it, everything that I've kind of heard like in the news and stuff like that is always like an ex or an estranged spouse or estranged lover or something like that. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, once again, we see that the survivor is isolated here, and we don't know if she left without a plan, without a place to go. We don't know how much danger she could be in. But if she had supportive friends or neighbors, or even if she saw that hotline number, right? It's important that we post hotline numbers, that we share them, because not everybody is going to have a friend or family member. But we want to get the public health message out that there's no excuse for domestic violence and help is available. There are laws to assist immigrant victims, and it's important that we know that regardless of anyone's immigration status, they can call the police, and they can request a restraining order. And those are really important resources. So, Lindy, in closing, I really want to say that it's important for people to know that survivors are strong. They are navigating abuse every single day to try to keep themselves and their children safe. They have already been through so much, and although there is a lot of danger, there are people who can help them, and they can make a change when they are ready. And I've worked with so many survivors who told me that once they were out of the relationship, a year or two, they don't think about the abuser all the time anymore. It's not front and center anymore. It might be in a box, in a shelf on the back of their mind, but they are not defined by the abuse. And this is what we wish for survivors, to receive support and options, and to have control over their own lives. And, lastly, some survivors may never leave their abusive relationships, but we have to respect their choice and still, for those survivors, try to reduce their isolation and increase their safety. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk with you today.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That was a wealth of information, right? I could sit there and talk to Elaine all day and just absorb everything that she has to say. But yeah, so I do want to give some shout outs to people that are in the chat. Jennifer Cardilla from the Middlesex County Center for Empowerment. Thank you so much for joining us today. She's actually a coalition member, so thank you so much for showing your support. Karen Cantor from what is it? Mellow B, yes.
Mellow B, who's going to be performing later on, right?
Yes, he is. He sent some well wishes to Karen Cantor from the Brady campaign, and we also have Brandy Alexander, who wanted us to recap and reiterate Elaine's message. Leaving an abusive relationship is a process, not an event. So it's a super important reminder for those that are exposed to this type of situations. So thank you so much.
I also want to thank Tania Adorno and Kenneth Salgado from Agua Sol y Sereno in Puerto Rico, who are also online. We'll see her performance later on. Thank you for being online and for supporting us. Muchas gracias, Tania y Kenneth, por estar en sintonía, y a toda la gente de Agua Sol y Sereno que nos ayudó y nos prestó su espacio, su estudio y su tiempo. All the crew de Agua Sol y Sereno, Pedro Adorno, Katy, and the rest of the actors and performers who lend us their space to do our piece for today. Thank you. Jose Montes also, who thank you, Lindy and Mariam and the crew for putting this together.
Jose Montes from Prab, thank you so much. One of our great partners all the time. Want to give a shout out to my cousin, Grace Eladon, has joined us. So thank you for joining us. Now we actually have some remarks on behalf of the New Brunswick City Council. Claudio, can you introduce her?
Right, before I do that, Mariam reminded me that she's not the only founder member of the coalition. That Rebecca Escobar, the councilwoman from New Brunswick, is one of the founding members when she used to work at Robert Wood Johnson Community Health Promotion Program, the program that Mariam directs. Evelyn Rosa from Middlesex County College is also a founding member. Grace Uma from Eric B. Chandler, I think she's retired now, right? But she did a lot of work. Anna Trotton from when she was in St. Peter's also is another founding member. Yvette Molina, who used to be in Elijah's Promise. A lot of us know Yvette. Susan Giordano, when the medical school was called Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, now Rutgers Medical School. Irama Marco, who used to be an employee at Prab also. And we also want to shout out the past chairs, Lindy, in your honor. Dean Rocio Castro from Rutgers as a past chair. Maritza Raimundi from Prab. Norca Torres, a community activist and jack of all trades. What Norca can do everything. And also Mr. Carlos Cordero. And that, I think, is a beautiful introduction. Rebecca, mi comadre, as we say, has been from the very beginning of the coalition, is committed to the cause of domestic violence. And she's, even though she's going to do bigger and better things, she's always accessible and always comes to the march. to support the effort and to do her part. So without more rambling on my part, here is Councilwoman Rebecca Escobar.
Good afternoon, I'm Rebecca Escobar, Councilwoman in the city of New Brunswick. Buenas tardes, soy Rebecca Escobar, concejal de la ciudad de New Brunswick. It is a pleasure to be part of this first virtual edition of the New Brunswick March Against Domestic Violence. Y es un placer estar con ustedes hoy, unidos en esta edición virtual de la marcha sobre la violencia doméstica aquí en la ciudad de New Brunswick. Domestic violence continues to be a public health issue. In New Jersey, there's an act of domestic violence every 7 minutes. La violencia doméstica continúa siendo un problema de salud pública en la nación y afecta a más de 12 millones de personas. En el estado de New Jersey, hay un acto de violencia doméstica cada 7 minutos. We need to lift our voices more than ever to let domestic violence survivors know that we are here for them. Por lo que es importante que le dejemos saber a las sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica y víctimas que estamos aquí para ellas. Support that is available in the city through programs and services like the New Brunswick Police Domestic Violence Unit, Women Aware, Dina's Dwelling, Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital, and St. Peter University Hospital, who work tirelessly to bring awareness and provide supportive services to survivors and children. Apoyo que está disponible en varias agencias de la ciudad, como la Unidad de Violencia Doméstica del Departamento de Policía de New Brunswick, como la organización Women Aware, como la organización Town Clock, CDC, Dina's Dwelling, como los hospitales Robert Wood Johnson y St. Peter's, para mencionar unos pocos. Thank you to the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for all the work that you do, not only coordinating this wonderful event, but also for helping with your members to develop programs that address domestic violence awareness and prevention in our community. Quiero hoy darle las gracias a la coalición de concientización sobre la violencia doméstica en la ciudad de New Brunswick por todo el trabajo que realiza, no solo coordinando este magnífico evento, sino por su trabajo con los miembros y proveedores de servicios en el desarrollo de iniciativas en nuestra comunidad de prevención y educación sobre la violencia doméstica. The good fight is not over, and that is why today we declare, lifting our voices loud and clear, to say that domestic violence have no place in the city of New Brunswick. Thank you. Nuestro trabajo no ha terminado. La lucha continúa. Por eso hoy levantamos nuestras voces para declarar todos colectivamente que la violencia doméstica no tiene lugar aquí en la ciudad de New Brunswick. Gracias.
All right. Excellent video from Councilwoman Rebecca Escobar. I want to shout out Deb Morgan from the New Brunswick NAACP who's online. Thank you, Deb, for always being there, and your husband Bruce, for you guys are the real thing. There's no fake in you. And I love it. Also, Indira Martyr also is thanking us, and I'm glad, Indira, you're always a big supporter of the march, providing artists and singers. Also, shout out to Manuel Castañeda, that's also online, and his wife Carla, who you saw in the first No Mas video that she delivered in Spanish. An amazing actress. She doesn't do this for living, but she perfectly could do this work for living. Thank you very much for tuning in and for lending your time and your talent to this amazing cause. Now we're going to show a video. It's called El Violador Eres Tú. And it's a movement of women, mostly young women, but you can see the scope is very wide of this performance group that created a performance to be done in public, outside in the street, where women in Spanish say that I'm not the violator. Actually, the way they use is rapist, but it goes beyond a rape. Is much more violation of human rights, violation of the right that every human being has to live a safe and healthy life, access to health care, access to safe home. And they mention a whole bunch of institutions in Chile who are to blame for the violence against women in that country. And the whole thing went viral. So we're going to show an example in Chile, the first one, and an example in Puerto Rico. I think Tania, who's that I think before also was part of that, and her family, her sisters. And I'm showing these two examples because there's if you Google it, the I don't remember how it goes in English, and I can research it before we finish. So you see the different countries, like from Europe to the Arab world to China, all these women performing and calling institutions violators, rapists for the rights of women. So maybe let's show the Chilean first and then the one in Puerto Rico. They're very short. This is actually the one from Puerto Rico. Beautiful. Let's do it.
El patriarcado es un juez que nos condena al nacer y nuestro castigo es la violencia que no ves. El patriarcado es un juez que nos condena al nacer y nuestro castigo es la violencia que ya ves. Es feminicidio, impunidad para el asesino, es la negación, es la violación. Y la culpa no era mía, ni dónde estaba, ni cómo vestía. Y la culpa no era mía, ni dónde estaba, ni cómo vestía. Y la culpa no era mía, ni dónde estaba, ni cómo vestía. Y la culpa no era mía, ni dónde estaba, ni cómo vestía. La culpa es del silencio y una mala educación. La culpa es del gobierno, de las iglesias y su infierno. El gobierno opresor es un macho violador. El gobierno opresor es un macho violador. El violador eres tú. El violador eres tú. El violador eres tú. El violador eres tú.
Well, that was fierce and super dope, and I might have shed a few tears for that one because it was powerful. But okay, so now I actually have the pleasure of introducing newly appointed Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholders and a super long resident of New Brunswick, freeholder Clary Ascona Barber.
Hello, it's Clary Ascona Barber, Middlesex County freeholder and chair of Community Services Committee. For many years, I have marched alongside the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition to increase awareness of domestic violence. I take great pride in once again joining the march. In New Jersey, an act of domestic violence happens every 7 minutes, and 1/3 of the offenses involved children. This statistic is heartbreaking and unacceptable. It is why the county is dedicated in supporting our partners like Women Aware, providing domestic violence response training to teams from our municipalities, offering grants for local nonprofits. Also, in 2020, the county has begun developing the Middlesex County Family Justice Center, a safe haven where individuals can seek for help. We, as a community, must come together to eradicate domestic violence. Please join us for our first ever virtual march to bring hope to survivors of domestic violence. Hola, les habla Claria Ascona Barber, miembro de la Junta de Frijoles del Condado de Middlesex y presidenta del Comité de Servicios a la Comunidad. Por muchos años he marchado al lado de la coalición de New Brunswick para incrementar la lucha contra la violencia doméstica. Es con mucho orgullo que me uno a esta marcha una vez más. En New Jersey, un caso de violencia doméstica pasa cada 7 minutos y 1/3 de los casos incluye niños. Estas estadísticas nos rompen el corazón y son inaceptables. Es por eso que el condado de Middlesex ha estado dedicado a apoyar a organizaciones sin fines de lucros como lo es lo de Women Aware, proveyendo entrenamiento a grupos en nuestras municipalidades, ofreciendo programas y fondos a organizaciones sin fines de lucros que están protegiendo a los sobrevivientes de casos de violencia doméstica. Adicionalmente, en el 2020, el condado ha empezado a desarrollar el Centro de Justicia Familiar, un lugar seguro donde los individuos pueden recibir ayuda. Nosotros, como comunidad, debemos todos luchar juntos para eliminar la violencia doméstica. Por favor, únase a esta marcha virtual para traer esperanza a los sobrevivientes de violencia doméstica.
Next, we're going to show a piece created by Tania Adorno from Colectivo Cultural y Teatral Agua, Sol y Sereno in Puerto Rico. We thanked them before. Tania created this piece as a movement piece in response to the increase in violence against women in the island of Puerto Rico. So she also is an interesting piece, I think, because it's a strong response to what they understand is the inability of the government to stop and to put a break to what's happening in the island, especially with the pandemic. The cases of domestic violence and killing of women have increased. But I also was going to say that I really enjoy that Tania invited other actresses in the group to contribute with writing for the piece that she created with Kenneth Salgado. So I want to thank her for this work, and think of the language as music, even though there's music, the Spanish as music also to accompany the piece. And I'll be reading live a translation that I made of the poetry that was written for the piece. So whenever you're ready.
Emerger a la libertad sin escape,
Emerge to freedom
amanecer sin alerta,
without escape,
respirar sin peso,
to
con
come out
brisa
of a dawn,
nada, efervescente y total que despierta cantando fuera de la
not being alert,
asfixia.
to live and
El
breathe
mar,
without
la
anything
vida, la
weighing
divinidad,
you down,
la tierra y la justicia
with a
resuenan
relaxed
con
smile,
el agua sagrada de nuestro ser.
effervescence that wakes up singing away from asphyxia, the sea, dignity, witness, earth, and justice have echo in the sacred tree of our bodies. To think in our fears seems so simple,
Pensar en
not
nuestros
because
miedos nos
it's
resulta tan
easy,
sencillo, y no porque sea fácil lidiar con ellos, sino por todas las veces que lo hemos sentido.
but because all the times
A
that we have
veces me
felt it.
pregunto si será el mismo.
Sometimes I ask
En cada
myself
movimiento de mi
if
cuerpo
it is the same fear.
y cada una ese recuerdo de un evento.
In every movement
El
of my
miedo no es
body,
solo mío,
an image
me
emerges,
pertenece.
and each one
Porque
of
mi
those is the
madre,
memory of an
mis
event.
tías, mis abuelas,
That
mis
fear is not only
ancestras.
mine, it doesn't belong to me,
Es
it
válido
belongs to
porque las
my
razones
mother,
sobran.
my aunts,
Y ahí están ellas, las que ya no están, las que me hacen entender que el miedo es reflejo de nuestra fuerza misma. Se develaron en los movimientos de nuestras caderas y en las vibraciones de nuestras voces. No es debilidad, nosotras no somos cobardes. Descubrimos en nuestro andar la fuerza que habita en el interior. Cada imagen recordada parece ser agonizante, parece ser el dolor infinito de miles de almas, las que no sobrevivieron, las que se llevó la corriente, las que el viento voló, las que la tierra estremeció con gran fuerza, las que fueron olvidadas en el sufrimiento, las que llamaron locas, las que lucharon, las inocentes que condenaron.
Soy mujer, hecha viento, hecha agua, que se mueve, que respira. Cada espacio, cada grito, se atormenta al infinito, mientras más dolor. Soy mujer, hecha fuego, hecha tierra, que camina y pisa fuerte. Renacer, vivir con la esperanza de abrazarnos en la danza, entregarme en confianza. Soy mujer, soy espejo de tu duelo, soy un ser que refleja tus anhelos. Trascender. Mientras más cerca estamos, me respiras, respiramos. y esta lucha caminamos.
Whisper in the wind. Thank you very much, Tania, and the crew in Puerto Rico. The Fondo Flamboyant is the fund created by Lin-Manuel Miranda in Puerto Rico to help artists after the Maria hurricane. Thank you.
Sol y some
I think there's something going on. It's distorting. I don't know if the same thing happened with mine, but I think this piece is very, very powerful. But we also have our version of power. As a man, I always felt so honored that I wasn't rejected to participate in the efforts against domestic violence, and I think that I haven't disappointed a lot of people. I mean, that's almost impossible, right? Not disappointing, but I'm saying this because there's another generation coming of men who want to work, who want to be educated about these issues, and that's how we have Melo B, which is born and raised in New Brunswick, and is an upcoming hip hop artist. It's a person that I've known since he was born, since he was an idea. He's related to Lindy, he's her nephew. But he's this young man you see here talking about these issues or improvising, creating music about these issues, has been like this since he was born. That serious, that committed to whatever he put his mind on. So it doesn't surprise me that he's here today and that he's this committed to the issues. What do you think, Sister Lindy?
So yeah, can you hear me? Oh, you can't hear me. Okay, good. So yeah, so I'm excited about Melo B's performance. Every year he goes to the march and he's like so inspired, and he's like, man, I need to do a piece for domestic violence, and this is what I need to do. And every year he says the same. And this year I cornered him and I said, Melo, you have to do it. This is the year you have to do it. And he came through, and he came through solidly. So without further ado, Melo B's submission for this year's virtual march.
Love is a dangerous thing. It can leave you blinded. No matter what flaws your significant other may have, you can't find it. All you see is someone who's been there for you the last few years. The only person in this world who actually cares. The only person who will love you, even though that's the same person you fear. Love is a dangerous thing. It can leave you speechless. Knowing you're entitled to your own opinion. Knowing you're grown enough to make your own decisions. But knowing if you speak, he won't listen. She won't listen. Nails get broke, teeth start missing. Bumps and bruises from all the friction. Not once, but twice. Not twice, but 2 times too much. That if you keep letting this go on, you won't be able to live long enough to know what real love feels like. Love is a dangerous thing. But that That's not love. How can you love someone who will disrespect you physically, mentally, emotionally? How can you love someone who's telling you who you're supposed to be? How can you love someone who manipulates your thoughts to thinking wrong is right? How can you love someone who brings negativity more than positivity? Please protect your energy. How can you love someone who is not who they pretend to be? How long can you pretend to see through these signs? Use your mind and understand you deserve somebody who will love your personality more than your sexuality. Someone who negativity more than positivity. Please protect your energy. How can you love someone who is not who they pretend to be? How long can you pretend to see through these signs? Use your mind and understand you deserve somebody who will love your personality more than your sexuality. Someone who you can talk to about anything and never judge you, nor steer you wrong. Someone who knows what you like without you telling them. Someone who can communicate more than dictate. Someone who understands to agree to disagree without taking it to this degree. Someone who's loyal to the point no matter what happens in their past relationship, it won't affect this one due to the fact this person never gave you a reason not to trust them, never gave you a reason to hate or dislike anything about them. How come? Because this person will give you all their time. This person will go blinded. No matter what flaws you may have, they can't find it. This person will go speechless, knowing they're entitled to their own opinion because they rather hear you talk and listen. Knowing you're grown enough to make your own decisions, but also knowing if you speak, she will listen, he will listen. Conversations turn to kissing, laughs, and tripping off this drug that's so addicting. Vibes are risen, souls are glisten, all because you went with your intuition. Love isn't a dangerous thing. It's actually an amazing thing.
I saw him yell at her, and I felt bad. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Mami siempre me dijo that when a couple's fighting, you can't get in the middle of it because at the end, they're going to turn their back on you. Then he slapped her. He slapped her right in front of me. Should I have said something? I should have done something.
If you see someone getting abused or in danger, call the police. Leaving an abusive relationship is a process and not an event. We have to be patient and supportive. You can be a friend, listen to them non-judgmentally, and help them find resources when they're ready. Safety planning is important. These hotlines and domestic violence programs can help. We say no más violencia. Please call 1-800-799-7233 or go to these websites.
Wow, sorry for the technical difficulties, but you definitely get the gist of Mellow B. So thank you so much, Mellow B, for your positive bop, your contribution. You can actually see the video on our NB DVAC page on Instagram. So please, if you want to see it in its entirety, we have posted it. We posted it yesterday, so it is amazing. That's how much we love it. And we also want to shout out Mellow B's mama, who was in that second clip after his video. Senada Belton, our community actress. So thank you so much for that message as well. Up next, we have our producer, Sarah Ferreira, who's actually going to be interviewing Dr. Tina Bloom. She will be talking to us about an important app it's an app and resources for survivors, and it's called the My Plan app. So let's play that.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Ferreira, and I am the artistic coordinator for the New Brunswick Cultural Center, and I'm also the producer for the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness virtual event happening today. I have the honor and the great pleasure of interviewing Dr. Tina Bloom this afternoon. And before I introduce her and bring her in and have a conversation with her, I just wanted to read a brief bio about Tina Bloom. Dr. Bloom is an associate professor and Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Nurse Faculty Scholar at the University of Missouri. Tina Bloom has specialized in research on intimate partner violence interventions since 2001, with a particular interest in marginalized and underserved abuse survivors, racial, ethnic, and sexual minority women, pregnant and rural women, and eliminating disparities in access to resources for underserved survivors. Dr. Bloom is a member of the Missouri Coalition for Domestic and Sexual Violence and the Nursing Network on Violence Against Women International. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Tina Bloom. Hi, everybody. Hello. So today our conversation is more focused on the My Plan app, which is a resource for people who are survivors. So my first question to you, Dr. Bloom, is what inspired you to get involved with creating the My Plan app, and why create this app for people who are survivors?
So I started working on this project when I was a doctoral student around 2005, 2006, and have continued to be able to be a part of this work. It's a large multidisciplinary team that works on it, and I'm just a part of that team and very, very proud of it. But the reason that this came into being was that we really know that the most effective thing to reduce violence for abuse survivors is to connect them with domestic violence advocacy and resources and safety planning. That's the thing that survivors consistently tell us is one of the most helpful things that they did, that kept them safer, that kept their kids safer, that allowed them to protect themselves and to heal from the violence, whether they stay or go in the abusive relationship. But the problem is we have lots of research that demonstrates pretty clearly that as effective as this is at protecting survivors and reducing their symptoms and violence exposure, the vast majority of folks that are out there in the world aren't connecting with domestic violence services. So as swamped as our services are, they're seeing just the tip of the iceberg. And we know there's lots of reasons, right, that survivors would connect with those resources. They might not know about them. They might not know how they can help them. They might not think that they can help them. They might think that it's contingent upon them leaving to access those resources, and they might not be ready to leave. There's lots of fear, shame, stigma, and so forth. So, there's lots of barriers. There can be language barriers, etc. So what we know is that something between 2 and 10% of survivors will ever access those resources. So big gap, right? So we started looking at safety planning and how you could do that, provide that sort of interactive and individualized dialogue that an advocate would have with a survivor about her level of risk, her resources, her priorities, her plans, and help her come up, with a plan that's tailored to her. knowing that we cannot replace that with a computer program, and that's not our goal, right? Our goal is to begin that conversation and provide those resources to survivors, but also help them know what other resources are out there so that they can connect. So we started developing this on a laptop, and took the laptop, and then we translated it into English and Spanish, and took it into domestic violence shelters with women who had already made a decision to leave, and tested it with them, and let them go through it and give us feedback about what they thought about it, and what they how they thought that survivors might want to use it. And we had a very positive response to it. They really liked it. In the shelters, many women had extremely high danger assessment scores. We used the danger assessment, a validated risk assessment tool in it. A lot of them hadn't had a chance to make a safety plan yet. But one of the things that they told us was that they really wanted to be able to go back to it. When they got back home, or if they returned to their abuser, or if they were still in the abusive relationship, and because we know things are always changing, right? It's just a very fluid and dynamic situation. So the survivors that we met in the shelter said, I love that this is so private. I love that I can put anything in here. The computer doesn't judge me, but I think you should put this on the internet. So that's what we did. We put it on the internet. We did a randomized controlled trial with 720 women in 4 states, testing the program on the internet, and had really good results with that. And then we have just continued to adapt and evolve it. We're always working on the thing. More recently, as smartphones have become, a thing, they weren't a thing when we started working on this. Survivors suggested that we adapt it to work on smartphones as an app, so we've done that. We've developed tailored versions. We're working on a version for adolescents, that kind of thing. So that's where it came from, but we're always working on it.
Yeah, that's so great. I really love the fact that the app, because here in New Brunswick, a large majority of our community that lives here year-round is bilingual, or they speak predominantly Spanish. And I work with a group called Sister Work that was actually founded around a conversation about domestic violence awareness. And I think that this app is a great resource for them, because what we do at Sister Work is we're actually we try to provide resources to our group. So finding them and finding out about the MyPlan app is actually wonderful. So I was wondering, what else? I'm trying to articulate what I want to say. What is your favorite part about the app, or or what is maybe feedback that you've gotten from other people that because I think it's super easy to use and navigate around. So I wanted to hear what your ideas.
That is a great question. I love that. I think my favorite part of it is the individualized nature of it, and that it's really set up so that what the user gets back is personal to them. We've tried to make it inclusive and tailored, so survivors of all genders can use it, and they'll get feedback based on their danger assessment score, so the level of dangerousness in that relationship, based on their priorities, based on whether they have children, based on whether they're planning on staying or leaving, because we know safety strategies need to adapt to that, based on the gender of their partner. And it's also usable for friends and family of an abuse survivor, because we know that those social networks are so incredibly important in terms of connecting survivors with resources. And even though survivors may not be calling police or going to shelter or using formal resources, they're most likely to be talking to, you know, a sister, friend, and mother. And so really, you know, kind of empowering the community to be able to use it, as well as advocates so that they can too. So I think that's my favorite part about it, is that, you know, we've built that tailoring in, so it's accessible.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Bloom. This has been very wonderful and insightful. And can you just give us a quick explanation of how somebody can download the MyPlan app?
Absolutely. So we have a website, which is www.myplanapp.org, where
we'll drop that link right in the comments.
Awesome, thank you. So that people can go there if they want to learn more about the app. If they want to link directly to, you know, it's in the Apple Store, the Google Play Store. It can also be accessed on the web from there, because we know that for some survivors it may not be safe to use it on their phone, but they may, say, for example, be able to use a computer at work or at the library or something like that. So that's how folks can find it, and we've made it intentionally flexible that way. If they download it onto their phone, it has the user set a PIN so that it is PIN protected and secure. The name is intentionally vague. Actually, if you Google MyPlan app, you get a ton of stuff that isn't our app. So, and there's a safety feature where the user can put in a dummy code, like say if their partner did happen to look on their phone and find this app and say, you know, what is this? Make them put in their passcode. They can put in the dummy code and it will take them to just a generic kind of organization, you know, life planning app. So it's we try to make it as accessible and available as possible, and we have it right now in English and Spanish, as you mentioned, and we're definitely hoping for other adaptations of language later too. So.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bloom. This was very great, and I hope that everyone is able to download the MyPlan app or look it up on the internet. I just want to thank you so much for taking some time today to be interviewed, and I hope that you can join us on Saturday.
Thank you very much. And I just want to give a shout out to all my colleagues and friends who worked on this app, but also the survivors and the advocates who've really made it what it is and made it work for them. So this has definitely been a village to put this together. But thank you. It's been so great to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope that maybe one day we can work together again soon.
That would be awesome.
Oh, great.
So thank you, Sarah, for that awesome interview with Dr. Bloom and her strong work. I truly hope that someone out there puts this app into good use. So I think it's awesome. So next up, we actually have someone who actually doesn't even need an introduction because she is like all over the place. But she is actually our host for today, and she is hailing from the New Brunswick Cultural Center. And
the force.
The force, yes, the force that is Tracy O'Reggio Clark.
The never-ending force, the never tire.
Okay.
The most enthusiastic person.
We love you, Tracy.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you very much for this invitation to this very, very, very important event. And you mentioned my colleague Sarah is behind the scenes producer. Let's give her another shout out. You know, two times dynamics, right? Thank you again for everyone who's joining us. Please send the link to join us. We still have time. We have lots of performances still to come and still a lot more resources to share. And thank you so much. The chat is on fire. If you know, you know, right? And just thank you for all the supporters. And again, for this opportunity for Sarah and I to be a part of this virtual march. So the next person I am so excited to introduce He is the pioneer, one of the pioneers behind the music scene of New Brunswick and across the state and in the across the world too. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ras Ujima with his performance of She, dedicated to all of the survivors and victors for against domestic violence. All right, everyone, enjoy the show, and thank you again for having us. Love you both.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you.
When you see her, you desire to meet her because she is especially special, really something else. She can understand topsy-turvy when the Rasta man put it right side up. Now roses and diamonds are true at her feet because she stood the test of time. She be comfortable eating cornbread or sipping the most expensive wine. She is a cool breeze in the summer. She is warmth in the cold. She is spirit. She is divine. She will live generations and she won't ever die. You see, she is of the feminine gender. She is love. She is peace. She is strength. She is sister. She is mother. She won't fight, but she won't surrender. You see, she's an angel sent to us by Jah Rastafari. When you see her, you desire to meet her because she is especially special. Really something else. Really something else. Really, 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 really something else.
Thank you so much, Ras Ujima. He is a certified New Brunswick staple in the arts sphere in New Brunswick. So thank you so much for that piece. Now I would like to present a special message from our neighbors in Somerset County. So Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders, we are fortunate to have your support. Freeholder Director Chanel Robinson.
Hi, I'm Somerset County Freeholder Director Chanel Robinson. The New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition seeks to increase community awareness of domestic violence, to help prevent violence, and to connect survivors to resources in their community. Domestic violence is a serious public health problem and a crime that threatens the social fabric of our nation and affects nearly 10 million Americans each year. According to statistics, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men in America are victims of domestic violence. I am a survivor, and I know the feelings of shame, guilt, and hopelessness that comes with being a victim. That's why I'm asking you to join New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition on October 17th for a virtual event in fighting for social justice and elevating community voices, where we will talk about education, prevention, warning signs, and how you as a friend or family member can help. If you are a victim, become a victor. If you are a friend or family member, learn how to build a support system and understand what resources are available to you for counseling, crisis intervention, legal, family advocacy, and so much more.
He loves me. He didn't mean it. He hasn't been the same since he lost his job. The kids love their father, but sometimes they're scared of him. My family says I should respect him because he is my husband. Sometimes he can be harsh, but he doesn't mean all the things he says to us. He loves us. He just has a different way of showing it. He just wants the best for us. Sometimes I provoke him. He's a good man. On the other hand, where would the children and I go?
There is no excuse for abuse. Domestic violence is typically a pattern of behavior that can happen to anyone. It includes coercive control. Some aspects of life with an abusive partner may seem positive, but they often serve to reinforce the control and abuse. It's important to know that leaving an abusive relationship can be the most dangerous time. Survivors need and deserve support. We say no más violencia. If you are concerned about your relationship or want information on domestic or dating violence, call 1-800-799-SAFE or go to these websites.
So thanks again, Freeholder Director from Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders. Freeholder Director Chanel Robinson, your support is so important to us. Thank you so much. Also, I want to give a shout out to Nanichi Oliva, who was the actress in that No Mas video. So she's amazing, and both videos were so raw, and I appreciate that rawness. So now we actually have another dope person that has a presentation or a submission for today's event, and her name is Dr. Vasquez. She is actually the Assistant Director for the Office of Violence Prevention and Victim Assistance, better known as VPVA, at Rutgers University. And she will be talking about their awesome program for Rutgers University students. Please turn your volumes up for this very important message from Dr. Vasquez.
Hi, mi gente. My name is Dr. Rebecca Vasquez. I'm the Assistant Director at the Office for Violence Prevention and Victim Assistance at Rutgers University, the New Brunswick campus. And I'm here just real quick to let you know that we are still here for survivors, and a little bit about how we've adapted due to COVID and working remotely. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this virtual community. We are really glad to be here, and we just want to let people know, as I said, that we're still open. We're still available for survivors, and we're trying to show up the best way that we know how virtually, and still figuring that all out. But first and foremost, our hotline is still available. So if you or anyone that you know are in crisis, whether because something is actually happening in that moment, or something happened maybe 3 years ago and you're working through a trigger and you just need to talk it out, you can call our 24-hour hotline and speak to a trained advocate. So the number for that is 848-932-1181. It'll connect you with an answering service, and then you'll get a call back from a blocked number from one of our advocates. And so that's always an option, and that option is still true whether it's COVID or not. The other thing that we're still offering is advocacy and counseling. So because of COVID, everything has shifted remotely. So we're offering either phone counseling, or now we're starting to get access to a HIPAA compliant Zoom platform so that we can do video-based counseling and advocacy for those who are interested in that option. And so we're still providing, when I say advocacy, that can mean with academics, with emailing professors, reaching out to Title IX, legal advocacy, prepping for restraining orders, anything that has to do with a practical need, housing, for example. Those are still things that we're still doing remotely for survivors. And then the counseling piece is more of the emotional support. It's processing and unpacking the harmful messages that have come from trauma, and working on those symptoms to help you to feel safer in your body and in your world. So we're still offering that as well. The other thing, let's say that you're not necessarily wanting services right now, but you just really want to get involved. We have opportunities for that too. We have two amazing student groups through our office. One is Scream Theater, the other one is Programming Board, and they both have different roles in helping us to find activism as a part of how we do this work. And so Scream Theater is an improv student-led theater group that talks about these issues in very real ways that are unscripted and student-led and driven. And so they're doing all of their performances virtually. But that's something that we are still offering and we're proud to offer. And then our programming board is a group of students who are committed to helping us to keep the awareness on our campus through different programming and events. So on our campus, we have turned the campus purple, which is acknowledging Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Every April, we have turned the campus teal for Sexual Violence Awareness Month, and there's a lot in between. So programming board helps us to think through and plan different events within the Rutgers community. If you really wanted to get involved, there's another option too. We have our crisis response advocate program, and that's going through 60 hours of training. I know it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. 60 hours of training in order for you to help us with our hotline coverage. And so the 60 hours helps you to be a confidential advocate within the state of New Jersey and to be trained on both the historical and the practical ways in which violence against individuals can take place and what we can do about it. So we postponed that for the fall. We're going to try to revisit it in the spring, but our website has all the information in regards to how you can sign up with the application. And then if you want, you can just also follow us on social media. We have our Instagram account, our Twitter account, our Facebook account, so you can stay up to date with everything that's happening. So for now, we're still here. We're still busy. We're still showing up for survivors as best as we know how. And we just wanted to thank you for including us as a part of your virtual event and let us know if there's anything that we can do in the interim. Until then, stay safe and well and safe. And hopefully we'll connect soon.
Great, great work of Dr. Vasquez. Now we want to introduce Maricruz Ocampo, which is a Mexican activist, feminist working in the central part of Mexico in Querétaro. And Maricruz Ocampo is someone who used to live in New Brunswick while her husband was doing his PhD in Robert Wood Johnson Medical School a couple of years ago, and they went back to Mexico, and she has become an important voice behind for the rights of girls and women in the central part of Mexico. She's always on the verge of being a lot of death threats and attacks to her family because of the work that she does, but she's relentless. And I wanted to invite her because of her connection with New Brunswick, so she comes to say hello and to talk a little bit about her work very briefly in English, in Spanish, and then in English. Maricruz Ocampo.
Hola a todos, hola a todas, mi nombre es Maricruz Ocampo, soy activista mexicana y hoy me sumo a este llamado desde Querétaro, México. El trabajo que hacemos aquí es principalmente el acompañamiento a mujeres que han sufrido violencia y sobre todo aquellas que han sufrido violencia al interior de sus hogares. Quiero hoy enviarle un enorme abrazo a esas mujeres valientes que han logrado salir de ese ciclo de violencia y que hoy viven un proyecto de vida distinto, lejos de sus agresores. Entender la violencia al interior de los hogares es muy difícil para las personas que no la vivimos. A veces imaginamos que solamente está relacionada con los golpes o con el abuso sexual, pero la violencia doméstica tiene muchas vertientes, incluida la violencia emocional, incluida la violencia psicológica, la económica y la violencia patrimonial. También quiero enviar un abrazo a todos esos hombres y a estas mujeres que con su trabajo día a día logran que otras personas, que otras mujeres puedan salir de ese ciclo de violencia y que buscan garantizar a las mujeres precisamente eso, una vida libre de violencia. Para ustedes, toda mi admiración y todo mi respeto. Hello everyone, my name is Maricruz Ocampo and I'm sending you greetings from Mexico. When we talk about domestic abuse, we normally think of physical or sexual violence. We believe that we will see injuries in the women who are suffering it. But the reality is different, because a lot of times the abuse and the injuries are emotional and psychological. It is very important that we recognize the valor of those women who have walked away from an abusive relationship and who have a different project in their lives right now, who are free of violence and who are moving on. And I also want to send greetings to all the men and women who work towards this goal, to work to guarantee women a right to live free of violence, because women are 52% of the population, and we should not be subjected to any threat, especially in our homes.
Great, excellent.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
So, one of our most important allies is our local police department. And we have a special message from New Brunswick Police Department's Captain Bobadilla. But before that, can you tell us a little more about Captain Bobadilla's presence in our coalition?
I was going to say that that the coalition is such an amazing experiment in terms of community working, where everybody comes in equal condition to contribute to the work against domestic violence. And Captain Bobadilla has been there from the very beginning, that coordinating the march and the closing of the streets and contributing with the police officers that come and do the work that day. And I think that's been great, that the coalition has been able to invite, different sectors of the community to do this work. And also, I also wanted to highlight the work of men like him, right? Like we just saw Melo B, we saw Ujima, right? And that and that has a tradition in the coalition, right? Because there's a project called 100 Men Against Domestic Violence that was created a couple of years ago to
Claudio, I just want to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I must give a huge shout out to Detective Danny Gallardo, who is being honored for the Town Clock event next week. So definitely he is part of that whole equation that you were just speaking of.
Definitely. So and Danny's another individual, has been there in the domestic violence response team from the very beginning. Also, a native of New Brunswick, I think. He was here when I came 30-some years ago. But I was talking about the 100 Men Against Domestic Violence, a project I think that was sponsored by Robert Wood Johnson, who has always supported the coalition, the company Robert Wood Johnson, not the hospital, right? And also that 100 Men Against Domestic Violence was to educate men and to work with men. Also, the video of Melo in front of that mural is also part of the coalition work with a group of youngsters from New Brunswick, educating and talking about what is a healthy relationship. And they painted that mural, and the other mural with the big hearts, also part of a project with Rebecca Escobar and the healthy relationship. So everything, the work of the coalition keeps going and going. It's like a pot of spaghetti or pasta that keeps on growing. Again, I think that he will speak for himself. Captain Bobadilla is an amazing individual, and we're glad he's here.
Good afternoon. My name is Captain Michael Bobadilla, the commander of Domestic Violence Unit for the New Brunswick Police Department. I'm honored to be here today to support the Domestic Violence Coalition Awareness March for Domestic Violence. We've been involved with the Domestic Violence Coalition since its inception in 2003, and we've been involved as well with the march since 2003. Fortunately, this year we're going virtual, but the march will continue. New Brunswick is a model when it comes to domestic violence. Our Domestic Violence Coalition is comprised of several different social service agencies that work together to provide assistance to the survivors of domestic violence. This year's event will be October 17th. Come on out, log on, and join us for the virtual event. Domestic violence will not be tolerated here in our city. Thank you.
Great comment. Excellent. So now is our time, Lindy, to introduce a piece that I had the opportunity to help create recently last week in San Juan, Puerto Rico, with Agua Sol y Sereno, Pedro Adorno, and Kenneth Salgado, which are puppeteers in San Juan, and a song that I wrote, and my son is not easy, Mir said, playing drums and also behind the camera. They arrived because we had an incident in our family into San Juan, and from the airport we went to record this video in their studio. So I want to thank them if they're online, for their support, their work, their concept, their beautiful work, and their ideas. And here we go.
Well, I before you go, Claudio, I definitely want to commend you. Despite the circumstances, you pulled through with that video. And when I watched it, I was like, I immediately responded with such excitement and such enthusiasm, because that video is truly captivating. It is so you, like it permeates, and I think it's amazing. So without further ado, Mr. Claudio Mir with his wonderful piece.
¿Quién es el enemigo? Pregunto yo. ¿Quién es el enemigo? Pregunto yo. Que no sea la madre que te parió. El amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño, el amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño. Mujer, si te persigue, si te acosa, si te acecha, si se enoja, si te pega, no te quiere. Vamos a hacer una vida nueva, lejos del odio y la violencia. Vamos a hacer una vida nueva, lejos del odio y la violencia. El amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño, el amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño, el amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño. persigue, si te controla, si te pega, si te acecha, si te empuja, si te llama, no quiere. El amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño, el amor no hiere, el amor no hace daño. Vamos a hacer una vida nueva, lejos del odio y la violencia. Vamos a hacer una vida nueva, lejos del odio y la violencia. ¿Quién es el enemigo del mundo? ¿Quién es el enemigo?
I'm muted again. Sorry, guys. So that was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but I definitely want to give some shout outs. We have Rosabel Pastrana that's in our comments, and thank you so much for your lovely comments. And we also want to give a quick shout out before we go into another No Mas video. I want to give a shout out to someone else very special, not someone else, but an actual organization that has been so supportive since the start of this is Sudan Street Reformed Church. So I am extremely indebted to you guys as well. Many times that we've hosted the march and rally right outside, and we've done, you know, so much great work with Sudan Street Reformed Church. They're a staple in our city as well. So now we're gonna actually transition into another No Mas video from a very special individual. You might recognize her.
Querido hijo, cuando formes una relación con otra persona, quiero que esa relación sea de respeto, de compromiso. No importa lo que diga la sociedad de cómo debe de ser un hombre, que debe ser fuerte, que no debe de llorar. Yo no te crié de esa manera. Te crié para que fueras un hombre respetuoso y sensible. También te dejo saber que no te debes de dejar de humillar ni de maltratar de ninguna persona. Nunca dejes que nadie te maltrate de ninguna forma.
Nosotros decimos no más violencia. La violencia doméstica le puede pasar a cualquiera. Si le preocupa su relación o desea información sobre violencia doméstica, llame al 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233 o visite estos sitios en la web.
So thank you so much, Maria Merced, for that video. it actually resonated so much with me because as a mom of a son, of a male, a man child, because he's 16 now, it's so important for me to give him those positive messages of treating people with respect, and also accepting nothing less than respect. So thank you so much. The name of that piece was Dear Son. So it was very important. But I definitely want to give some more shout outs. So we have a lot of people that were really impressed with Claudio's abilities. So thank you so much. We have Sierra Warner. That was beautiful, Claudio. Senada Belton. Applause, applause, applause. And Denison Bonity from Rutgers. Professor Bonity says beautifully heartfelt. Claudio, you rock as always. And also Indira Martir from WellCare indicated, wow, so beautiful. So yeah, it definitely touches you when you hear Claudio in all his glory. And you know what? I wanted to point something out. What's funny is when I first watched that video, I noticed that Claudio had incorporated a monarch butterfly. And I just was like, why? Why a monarch butterfly? Because the day of the Clothesline Project, downtown New Brunswick, the street mural, we had this monarch butterfly that I happened to catch. And Officer Bobadilla was there, and he says, I see you trying to catch that monarch butterfly. And I thought it was so dope that you know, that happened. So it's just in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, but you know how it is. So I thought it was beautiful. But we're grateful to have such a level of support from our community organizations and our government. And we're so happy to welcome the next special person to say a few words of support. So up next, we would love to introduce a video from our own Middlesex County Board of Chosen Freeholder Director Ronald Rios, followed by a special presentation from Sam Urash from Middlesex County College. She is a 2020 graduate. And thank you, Evelyn Rosa at the Middlesex County College New Brunswick Center for allowing her to come and join us today for this special piece. So first and foremost, Freeholder Director Ronald Rios from Middlesex County.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this first ever virtual march and for supporting two key goals: to raise community awareness of domestic violence and to make Middlesex County a safer place for all survivors of domestic violence, as well as those who may be at risk. On behalf of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, I'd like to remind everyone that if you need help or know someone who is at risk for domestic violence, Middlesex County is here to listen and offer support. We have many resources available, and I encourage you to pass this information along. Our county's most direct line of help for survivors of domestic violence is through our nonprofit partner, Women Aware. For nearly 40 years, Women Aware has worked to promote the well-being of individuals and families affected by domestic violence in New Jersey and Middlesex County. Women Aware offers free, confidential services that meet each client's needs, including safety planning, counseling, housing assistance, life skills, parenting education, creative arts therapy for children, legal advocacy, health screenings, translation services, and long-term efforts towards independent living. They also offer a 24-hour hotline, emergency shelter, community education, and support groups. Services here are available to all genders because domestic violence, sadly, affects people from all walks of life. Middlesex County provides resources for survivors of sexual violence and their loved ones through our Center for Empowerment. We know that many domestic violence survivors may have also experienced sexual violence in the past or have incidents of sexual violence as part of their history. Resources like free counseling, support groups, guidance through the legal process, and referrals are now available through the center 24 hours a day, by phone and video conferencing. The center has been a longtime champion of community outreach and prevention education. In addition to supporting survivors, the Center for Empowerment works with its community partners through our own Sexual Violence Prevention Coalition and as active members of the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition. These important partnerships help to shape and create opportunities for community outreach, awareness, and prevention education throughout the county. Residents can also find additional state resources and those available through the County Prosecutor's Office at www.middlesexcountynj.gov. Another important group, also part of the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition, is the Town Clock Community Development Corporation. Their work in creating safe, permanent living spaces for our survivors is truly invaluable, and Middlesex County is proud and thankful to host several of these spaces. I would like to thank our partners at Women Aware and the Center for Empowerment for the crucial work they do in educating our residents and assisting our survivors. I would also like to thank the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for organizing this important event. Remember, during the pandemic, many survivors, their loved ones, and those at risk have no safe place to call home. Our community leaders and residents need to work together to adapt resources for these unprecedented times. The steps taken by groups like Women Aware and Town Clock and online events like this one have been impactful. Together, we can make our county safe for those in need. Thank you all once again, and may God bless our survivors.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Urash. I am part of the graduating class of 2020 from Middlesex County College. And today I have for you Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan. How many roads must a man walk down before you call him man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Yes, and how many times must the cannonballs fly before they'll forever bend? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed out to sea? Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many times must a man look up before answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Thank you all. Stay safe.
So we're reaching the tail end of our event today, but we still have some awesome video submissions. So please, now we would like to introduce a couple of videos from our youth participants of Bravo Johnson's Healthy Relationship Ambassadors. And we're actually going to follow that up by last year's host organization, Holy Family Parish. Amazing people that have totally supported us since day one. But first, I actually want to go to the chat, and I want to read a special message from Jose Montes at PRAD. And what he's saying is, it's possible for men who live through the cycle of domestic violence to break the chain of violence. They also need to support to work through their past so it doesn't become their present and future. So I thought that that was super dope for him to express that in our chat. So thank you so much. And now, here are the couple of videos that I promised.
You have rights in relationships, and everyone does, and those rights can help set boundaries that should.
El año pasado, la marcha y concentración se llevó a cabo en la Parroquia de la Sagrada Familia, y el grupo de mujeres, el Comité de la Salud Mental, disfrutó decorando playeras con mensajes positivos y asistiendo a la marcha juntas. Este año quieren seguir compartiendo sus mensajes positivos con ustedes.
Nos sembraron miedo, nos crecieron alas a cada minuto de cada semana.
Hola, mi nombre es Bridget y soy una de las miembros del Comité de la Salud Mental de la Parroquia de la Sagrada Familia. Y para el evento anual queremos compartir mensajes para los sobrevivientes de la violencia doméstica, los que tal vez están viviendo en esta situación ahora o lo han vivido en el pasado. Entonces, estoy presentando el Comité de la Salud Mental que quiere compartir estos mensajes con usted.
Por todas las compas marchando en Reforma, por todas las morras peleando en Sonora, por las comandantas luchando por Chiapas, por todas las madres buscando en Tijuana, cantamos sin miedo, pedimos justicia, gritamos por cada desaparecido.
Hola, mi nombre es María. Soy miembro del Comité de Salud Mental de la Parroquia de la Sagrada Familia. Yo solo quiero pedirte que si usted está viviendo un abuso en tu hogar o violencia doméstica, que no dudes de contactar a personas que te puedan ayudar. Recuerda, tú vales mucho, mereces respeto. Si tú haces esto, cortarás este círculo vicioso que puede perjudicar a tus hijos y a tus hijas. Estamos contigo y cualquier cosa puedes buscar a personas que te pueden ayudar. No lo olvides, tú vales mucho.
Hola, mi nombre es Carmela, soy del Comité de Salud Mental y les quiero dejar un mensaje. Que si sufrimos de violencia doméstica, busquemos lugares de ayuda, de apoyo para estar bien con nuestros hijos y con nosotras mismas. Porque la salud mental es lo más importante para nosotras. Y hay muchos centros de ayuda para que nos puedan ayudar en cualquier cosa que nosotros padezcamos y estar bien sanamente y mentalmente.
Si tocan a una, respondemos todas. Soy Claudia, soy Esther y soy Teresa.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Nancy, pertenezco al grupo de mujeres. Les quiero dar un pequeñito mensaje de la vida no es como a veces ustedes la ven. Dios nos quiere, yo quiero que ustedes sean positivas, que siempre tengan esa fe, esa fortaleza, porque recuérdense que nosotras tenemos mucho valor. Así que vamos a echarle ganas a todas y que Dios las bendiga a todas las que vean este video. Ustedes pueden, ustedes son fuertes, sí se puede, valórate, quiérete, nunca es tarde volver a empezar. Tú eres muy fuerte, sal de la oscuridad. Y me gustaría decirte que aquí estamos para apoyarlas, que no están solas, y que sí se puede, que somos fuertes, y que nunca es tarde volver a empezar con una nueva vida. Lo valemos y somos muy importantes.
Soy la niña que subiste por la fuerza.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Rocío Aparicio, soy parte del Comité de Salud Mental y mi mensaje para ti es que no debemos permitir más violencia en nuestra comunidad y romper con esas cadenas que vienen desde atrás, porque yo sé que es una cadena que se va y no hay que romper con eso. No más a la violencia doméstica, luchemos por eso, entre todas las mujeres somos importantes y merecemos ser felices. Y no más a la violencia doméstica, tú vales mucho.
No más.
Di no más a la violencia doméstica. Y no más a la violencia doméstica, por favor. Y no más a la violencia doméstica.
Great piece, awesome piece of Holy Parish, Holy Family Parish. Beautiful piece.
Yeah, I definitely want to shout out Bridget Perez and Brandy Alexander from Holy Family Parish, because the amount of work and strong work that they do with our families in New Brunswick is totally immeasurable. I definitely can recognize a lot of those faces, and a lot of those faces are the parents and family members of our school district children, students. So thank you. I love that. I love that. So let's see. I think I apologize for that. Those technical difficulties that we were having with the student affirmations, the healthy relationship ambassadors. I think it's safe to say that we have them ready to go. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Awesome. So let's go to that.
You have rights in relationships, and everyone does, and those rights can help set boundaries that should be respected by both partners in a healthy relationship.
Derecho a la privacidad tanto en línea como fuera de línea. Tengo derecho a sentirme segura y respetada. Tengo derecho a decidir con quién quiero una cita o no.
I have the right to privacy off social media and on social media. I have the right to feel respected and safe. I have the right to date who I want to and who I don't want to.
Derecho a terminar una relación que no sea correcta o saludable. Para mí, todos tenemos el derecho de vivir sin violencia o abuso.
I have the right to say no at any time to sex, drugs, or alcohol to a relationship, even if I have said yes before. Tengo el derecho a decir no en cualquier momento, al sexo, a las drogas y al alcohol, a una relación, incluso si he dicho que sí antes.
Tengo el derecho a salir con mis amigos y familiares y hacer las cosas que disfruto sin que mi pareja se ponga celoso o controlador.
Rights to end our relationships that aren't right or healthy for me. We all have these rights to the right to live free from violence and abuse.
Tengo derechos en mi relación. Todos los tenemos y esos derechos pueden ayudarle a establecer límites que deben ser respetados por ambas partes en una relación saludable.
So we went from the parents and the family members to our youth. So that's awesome. I see a lot of our students there from New Brunswick Public Schools. So that's awesome. Now, Claudia, we actually have a awesome cover of Andrew Day's Rise Up song. It's a powerful song, and the name of this artist is comes to us from Indira Martir, who is so awesome in bringing us these wonderful artists. So the name of this artist is Patrice.
Patrice, right.
Yeah, Patrice. So just quickly, let me just segue to Jose Montes. Thank you so much for saying your kind words in the chat room. I appreciate it. I'm a good observer of great leadership, and you're definitely a leader to be reckoned with. Evelyn Rosa, look at what she's saying.
And those are the ambassadors, as she mentioned. Evelyn says that she's glad to see a lot of the ambassadors on the screen. Those are the students who were in the quinceañero, the collective quinceañero, right? Like I think 30 kids did our version of a Sweet 16, right? In Latin America, a rite of passage and learning about healthy relationships. Beautiful.
Amazing. It was at the Imperia in Somerset. We were pretty fancy that day.
Yeah, very nice.
And now, without further ado, Patrice with I Rise.
Gracie.
Broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we can work it out and move mountains. We can work it out and move mountains. And I rise up, I rise like the day, and I rise up, I rise unafraid, I rise up, oh, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I rise up, I like the wave, and I rise up, in spite of the hate, I rise up, do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you'll feel like dying, but I promise you we'll bring the world to its feet. Mountains, bring it to its feet and move mountains, yeah. And I rise like the wave, and I rise up, I rise unafraid, and I rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. And I rise up, high like the wave, and I rise up, in spite of the ache, I rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. Oh, for you, for you, for all we need is hope, and for that we've got each other, and for that we've got each other. Hey. And no woman, no cry. No woman, no cry. And I rise up, I rise like the day, and I rise up, I rise unafraid, and I rise up, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. Yeah, and I rise up, high like the wave, and I rise up, in spite of the ache, and I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for
Well, that
Beautiful.
was effortlessly dope, wasn't it? It was like amazing. Like
Uh,
it made me think that I could sing like her, Claudio.
yeah, you definitely can. With a lot
I
of
think I can.
right.
Not today though. Not today. I
No,
won't be
not
singing
today.
today.
Not
Yeah.
today.
So right now we actually have some thank you clips from some of our members for the from the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition, and we would love to show that and share that with everyone. We only have some because we couldn't fit them all, otherwise we'd be here all night. So play on.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Urban from the Arts Institute of Middlesex County. Thank you for joining us for the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition's virtual march. We're so proud to be supporting you.
Hi, I'm Keith Jones, Chief of Staff of the City of New Brunswick, and I would like to give a huge congratulations to Big Day to the Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for all the work that you have done over the years and what you continue to do. and help you stomp out domestic violence where it stands in your lives, and the work that you do is tremendous. So, on behalf of me and the city of Brunswick, I'd like to say thank you. God bless.
Hello, I'm Joy Melendez, Director of Education and Outreach for the Brain Injury Alliance of New Jersey. We are a nonprofit agency dedicated to improving the quality of life for anyone impacted by brain injury by providing support, advocacy, and information while promoting brain injury prevention. For more information, please go to our website at www.bianj.org or call our helpline at 732-783-6172. Find us on Facebook at BIA of NJ, on Twitter at Brain Injury NJ, or on Instagram at Brain Injury Alliance of New Jersey. The Brain Injury Alliance of New Jersey has been a long-time collaborative agency with the Domestic Violence Coalition of New Jersey because we want people to understand the importance of brain injury and its connection to domestic violence. Again, thank you for being here today, and on with the mission. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Evelyn Rosa, representing Middlesex County College. I am the director for the New Brunswick Center. I have been a coalition member since the very beginning of the coalition. I'm very proud of this participation. I will say to you that the coalition continues to do very amazing work in the community. One of the most important things for me is that they give me resources that I can share with students. Our students could be vulnerable. We certainly want to make sure that we have the latest information. They share information that we can post. They share information on information sessions. We do the yearly domestic violence march to make sure that we bring awareness to the issue. It takes a village. We recognize that not everybody is comfortable talking about what's happening to them. And it's important that we all continue to support the initiatives of the coalition. I encourage everybody to get involved somehow and to be aware of what resources are available for all of us to use. God forbid we ever need to use them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jessica Guzman, the Outreach Coordinator for Seniors Education Awareness at Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. I came here to thank everyone for joining us on this virtual experience. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Jessica Guzmán, la coordinadora del alcance para los ancianos de educación y conocimiento, parte de Robert Wood Johnson University Hospital. Estoy aquí para agradecerles por acompañarnos en este día en su experiencia virtual.
Hi, I'm Lauren Balkin. I'm the director of Pathways School-Based Youth Services Program located at Carteret High School. I work for Wellspring Center for Prevention. I am so excited today to be here with some of our wonderful Carteret School-Based Youth Services Program graduates painting this incredible mural to raise awareness for domestic violence.
Good afternoon. This is Deborah and Bruce Morgan of the New Brunswick area NACP. We are here to support the annual march and rally for the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition. Please join us virtually on October 17th at 1 p.m. Remember, we do not want any domestic violence in our communities. Thank you.
Hola, como los orgullosos anfitriones del evento del año pasado, nosotros en la Parroquia de la Sagrada Familia queremos reafirmar nuestro compromiso de empoderar a los sobrevivientes, facilitar una comunidad más informada sobre el trauma y siempre, siempre abogar por la justicia social. Gracias. Hi, as the proud host of last year's event, we at Holy Family Parish want to reaffirm our commitment to empowering survivors, facilitating a more trauma-informed community, and always, always advocating for social justice. Thanks.
Hi, I am Ritu Chopra, founder and executive director of Lead My Way. We support New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for hosting this event to fight social justice and elevating community voices. Thank you, NB, DVAC, and coalition members for keeping focus on community and social justice. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sara Ferreira.
And I'm Tracy Ojo Clark, and we're from New Brunswick Cultural Center and the Arts Institute of Middlesex County.
We are so excited and grateful to be hosting this wonderful virtual event.
Thank you to the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Awareness Coalition for having us help to host for their virtual march today.
Make sure to follow us on social media at Arts New Brunswick
and on Facebook at New Brunswick Cultural Center.
See you soon.
Very nice videos, Miss Lindy. Beautiful, beautiful people.
You know who we didn't shout out today? We didn't shout out the wind.
Who?
The wind that made its appearance in many of our videos.
That wind.
That
Yeah.
wind. But we've reached the end. We did it.
Very nice.
So we are certainly honored to be the hosts of this year's march and rally, and we hope that all the information that we've provided today is useful and that you take advantage, and that, you know, if you remember one thing is to from today is to love yourself, value yourself, put yourself first, and you know, love is respect. I think that those words that that Captain Bobadilla was in front of, I think that they are super important. Love is respect, respect is love. What else, Claudia? What can you say?
Mariam is just here telling me that you did it amazing, that you did a beautiful work, and that you're a natural, and I concur. I agree with her. It was great working with you and supporting your work. And also, I wanted to say that if any of you at home watching this transmission want to contribute and want to work with the coalition, that you can email Elaine Hewings at elaine.hewings@rwjbh.org, or call her at 732-247-2050, and or go to their Facebook page, or write to Lindy in the Instagram page of the New Brunswick Domestic Violence Coalition to find out when the meetings are. And this also, this event will also, Tracy just told me, is going to be in YouTube. So if you want to see a part that you like or show it to your friends, please do so. Send it to your friends, send it to your family, or people that you think can get something out of this. And it's also on the Arts. It's on the Arts New Brunswick YouTube, Arts New Brunswick all together channel. I'm glad that.
How many views did we get? I'm curious to know.
I'm glad that we're here and that we were part.
I think we got over 1,000. Am I correct?
Wow.
Am I correct? We got over 1,000 views. Yay!
Wow, that's beautiful. That's excellent. Well, thank you everybody very much, and thank you for your patience. And Mariam is telling me something else. I can't do two things at the same time. She's saying
next year we will be in the streets.
Yay! With your megaphone.
Yes.
All right. So there you go. Thank you again, Lindy. Thank you for inviting me and being so wonderful.
Thank you. I want to thank my lifelong mentor, Maria Merced, for pulling me by my ear and telling me that I could actually be the chair this year. And Elaine Hewins, amazing.
Right?
Tracy, Sarah, Justenia Medina Hernandez, we miss you. So definitely so many behind the scenes individuals that made today work. So thank you so much.
For all the ideas and all the support, thank you all. I think that's it on my part.
We forgot to thank the Academy.
All right, and my mother and my dad and the whole thing, and my cousin in the countryside.
All my people in Nicaragua too.
The Puerto Rican artists who helped me put this thing together and send us their video and did it all this voluntarily. Thank you very much. If you're still on. My son,
you know,
right? That
you know, if they don't pull the plug on us, we'll be here forever. We don't mind, right, Claudia?
Right, and we can't forget to introduce the last No Mas video.
Oh yeah.
Madame, do the honors. Here is the last No Mas video. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Querida hija,
Cuando crezcas, quiero que estés con alguien que te respete,
que te ame por quien tú eres. Alguien que quiera crear una vida junto a ti.
Una persona que crea en las relaciones saludables.
No dejes que nadie te humille o te haga sentir inferior.
No dejes que nadie te maltrate, verbal o físicamente.
Nunca dejes que nadie te abuse, en ninguna forma.
Nosotros decimos no más violencia. La violencia doméstica le puede pasar a cualquiera. Si le preocupa su relación o desea información sobre violencia doméstica, llame al 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233 o visite estos sitios en la web.